Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Our responsibility, as always, I keep reminding you, is to bring you all access pass to the big happenings in politics and in the polity at midday. And there's a lot we're tracking, but let's bring you up to speed with what's happening with the presidency. We can tell you President Bola Tinubu is now in Tokyo, Japan for the first leg of his two-nation trip, which is to end in Brazil. He arrived 1 a.m. local time from Dubai, United Arab Emirates, where he had stopped over following his departure from Nigeria on Friday. President Tinubu is in Japan to attend the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development in the city of Yokohama from August 20th. With the theme, Co-Create Innovation Solutions with Africa. The conference will focus on Africa's economic transformation and improvement in the business environment and institutions through private investment and innovation. In addition to attending plenary sessions on the themes linked to the conference, the Nigerian president will hold bilateral meetings and meet with the chief executive officers of some Japanese companies with investments here in Nigeria. At the end of the conference, President Tinubu is to proceed to the Republic of Brazil on a two-day state visit from Sunday, 24th of August to Monday, August the 25th. While the number one man left the country, the number three citizen, the Senate president, has returned to Nigeria after a brief vacation in London. Upon his return, he dismissed rumors that he was critically ill and has been hospitalized in a United Kingdom hospital. Senator Okpebholo had earlier attended the 6th World Conference of Speakers of Parliament in Geneva, held between July the 29th to July the 30th, before proceeding to London for a short break. The Senate president arrived at Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport at about 4 a.m., where he was received at the presidential wing by senators, aides, and supporters from different walks of life. Speaking with journalists, he assured Nigerians of stronger parliamentary engagement when the Senate resumes.
Before the evolution of oil, crude oil, governments, communities were run through taxes and through contributions. So Nigeria is looking at that era. So we are looking at a post-oil economy, post-gas economy. What can we do? We must exist. And so that's what the tax reform has done. And we also looked at the most vulnerable in the society, particularly people who earn below 1 million naira. Should they be paying taxes? And then we also mentioned to them the fact that if you are on a minimum wage, you don't need to pay tax. And this is part of the innovation that this administration has brought to bear. And the world was quite impressed. We also told them legislations that are in the making, such as the gender equality issue. We may not achieve gender equality, but we said gender inclusion. We want to make sure that we have more women in the parliament. And so we are trying to look at ways and means of achieving that, to ensure that next time we come to the Senate, for instance, we will not have only 3 or 4 women in the Senate. We should have more women in the Senate. And then, of course, we made sure we did not touch the seat of senators. So that means that we are tinkering with parts of the Constitution to see where we can include more women in the parliament without necessarily touching the current constituencies that have been created by the current Constitution. So many other amendments. And they were quite happy, at least judging from the ovation that we had. So thereafter, I proceeded to 1 or 2 countries because we are on vacation.
All right, the Senate president, or president of the Senate, taking his time to review some of the activities that has been done by the Senate before the recess, and some of the things we should be expecting as far as the return of the legislature is concerned when they resume plenary after their break. Another big issue that you should pay attention to has to do with the chairman of the Revenue, Public Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, That committee generally, not just the chairman, but the chairman has announced the commencement of the process for the review of the allocation formula. The chairman of the commission, who made the announcement at the news conference, notes that the review has become necessary following current economic realities since it last reviewed in 1992. Under the current revenue allocation formula, the federal government takes the lion's share, 52.6% of FAC allocation. 26.7% goes to the states and 20.6% goes to local government, while 1% is allocated to each of the FCT, the Ecological Funds Office, Natural Resources and Stabilization Fund under the vertical revenue allocation. The Commission is promising to be fair, just, and equitable in the process.
The Commission will carefully assess the needs, service delivery obligations, fiscal performance, and development disparities. Let me state clearly that this review will be inclusive, data-driven, and transparent. It will involve broad-based consultations with critical stakeholders, including the Presidency, National Assembly, state governors, ALCON, the judiciary, MDAs, civil society organizations, traditional rulers, the organized private sector, and development partners. The Commission is also committed to integrating cutting-edge research, empirical data, and international best practices in its analysis.
All right, before I bring in my guests, let's bring you up to speed with some of the action of the federal government. Quite a noble gesture, but you need to find out exactly. We understand that the federal government has intervened in dialysis for kidney patients. I think it used to cost about 50,000 or so per session. It's now been subsidized to about 12,000 naira. So my producer will put up the slide of the various hospitals here. So if you hold this one, so if you go to Ebutemeta Federal Medical Center, Ebutemeta in Lagos here, you'll be able to find out exactly how you can benefit from this. So you know someone who can benefit from this, as well as the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, that's LUTH, FMC Abeokuta in Ogun State, University College in Ibadan, that's in Oyo State, then FMC Owerri, that's in Imo State. We have a couple of others, about 10 of them, spread across the geopolitical zones. FMC, that's the Federal Medical Center in Jabi, Abuja, University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospitals in Borno, FMC Azare in Bauchi, University of Benin Teaching Hospital in Edo State, that's UBTH, and then UCTH, that's University of Calabar Teaching Hospital, Cross River. So we understand that this hospital have started implementing that directive of the president for dialysis patients to subsidize the cost of dialysis from about 50,000 naira to now about 12,000 naira. So you could go there, check it out for yourself, verify this, and if you know someone who can benefit from this, it's a great one as far as this is concerned. But let's bring in my guest. He's the spokesperson to the Edo State Governor, Mr. Bugi Okomwe. He joins me virtually from Benin City, the Edo State capital. Bugi, good morning. Oh, it's afternoon, I should say, by the way. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it's a bit, I don't think I can see. Okay. Good afternoon, Godfrey.
Yeah, fantastic. Let's see what we can do before network plays a fast one on us. So a quick one, congratulations to you and your party. You coasted to victory. Mr. Ekpea is now a senator-elect to take the place of the governor who had to resign his position to serve as the governor of the state. I think there was another federal constituency. I can't remember the exact federal constituency. But in your assessment, we know that the opposition has been crying foul. There are so many commentaries as far as that election is concerned. But let's begin with your own assessment of that exercise, especially in Edo Central and the other constituency where this exercise held.
You would have been very, very surprised. I would have been very shocked if the opposition did not cry. Because, that has become consistent with the way that they respond to things like this. We know the trajectory. We know how their playbook is. conduct dubious crisis reading primaries, appoint a contentious and questionable candidate, battle internal crisis and fights while others are campaigning, accuse INEC of collaborating with the APC, lose the election, and cry that it was rigged. So that's their playbook. The elections were very free. The elections were very fair. The elections were credible. The elections went relatively smoothly. In terms of how smoothly it went, we could give INEC probably an 80% in terms of early distribution of material. So the election was well conducted, and the results that came out were a true reflection of the will of the people. I mean, it was difficult for it to have gone any other way. In Edo Central, particularly where the governor is from, the laudable and massive infrastructural interventions of the governor, in addition to people-driven policies and welfare initiatives, played a very major role in convincing people to go in the direction of the APC. Also, the governor was able to also let them know how important it is that there should be collaboration between the federal, the state, and the local government, and how several benefits have already accrued to Edo State and several senatorial districts because of the link with the center. So the people were able to see that it would be in their best interest to have somebody who shared the same ideology with the governor, who shared the same vision with the governor, who said the same purpose with the governor to also be elected. So it was clear that it was going to be a victory for the party. The governor had done so much. The Monday of Okpebholo has done so much to earn the trust of the people and to, ensure that when he tells them to follow him in a direction, they follow him. And it wasn't different in Obia Federal Constituency, where we had the House of Rep elections to replace the deputy governor's seat. It was basically the same thing. The people trooped out, and the result was, he was very convinced that APC was on ground, and the people trust the government in power.
When you were commenting about the playbook, I was smiling. I said, all of you have the same playbook, literally. Whoever wins says it was the smoothest, is the best. Democracy is standing tall. Whoever loses is an aberration. Democracy has been surmounted. So that playbook is not partisan in any way. It's about who wins and who loses. That's just on the lighter side. But seriously speaking, some people, I was speaking with one a former PDP national legal advisor. He said, we are back to the era where might is a big factor. For the fact that you either have state might or federal might guarantees victory. When you hear such commentaries, what do you say?
I don't agree with that. While I agree that there might be something called might, whether it's state or, but a truly people's candidate, a candidate that the people are solidly behind, will resist federal might or will resist state might or whatever other might people tout. And if you look at our electoral history, we've seen several instances. For example, with all of the influences, with all of the powers of successive PDP governments at the center, it was impossible to dislodge the APC or ACN or in whatever thing from Lagos State. Same thing with River State. I remember when the former governor Yeso Wike was in power, with all of the efforts that were put in place to try and get him out of that position. It didn't work. So while you might say there's federal and state might, but somebody who's truly on ground will be able to succeed irrespective of whatever might. But of course, it's important to stress that was not in play in this election at all. It was an election for two constituencies, the senatorial district and in federal constituency. You can't be talking about federal might in such situations. This election was conducted purely on the basis of the candidates, purely on the basis of the party's manifesto and the party's policies, and that was what played out. So it's those who lose that talk about might and all of that, but I don't think that's a major thing. And sorry to just talk about what you said earlier on. If you go back and listen to how I listed the playbook, you know that it's consistent with only Edo State PDP, it's not consistent with the APC.
No, book is consistent with
all of that.
Book is consistent with politicians generally. I will not put it on the doorsteps of only Edo State PDP. But now that you've mentioned them, I know I read a comment by Chris Nekirere, who was the commissioner, And as part of what was reported by one of the dailies, I want to read, it said the party alleged that INEC hid under the so-called glitches and malfunctions, but the real issue is lack of competence, neutrality, and moral standing. They are talking about the sabotage of the BVAS machine. What do you know about this specific allegation? Now we're going specifics.
I mean, from the same playbook as usual. I mean, I'm not surprised to read that, but anybody who monitored, I mean, there were observers that monitored the election. If the conversation is becoming a PDP APC situation, you can find out from the other observers who covered the election. There was no substantial failure of yes, you might have had one or two incidents in one or two places, but it wasn't substantial enough to have influenced the outcome of the election. In most areas where elections took place, it was smooth, the processes went well. Interestingly, where the governor voted, as part of his remarks, he also mentioned about how slow the BVAS machine was in capturing. But it was working and it was capturing people. He just felt the process could have been a bit faster, which could have been as a result of network. So there was really no, I mean, like I said, it's just the PDP reading from their usual playbook of alleging if it's not INEC, if it's the fact that federal might, if it's not federal might, votes were bought, and that. But anybody who observed the elections in the state knows that it was.
Yeah, Boogie, we're going to definitely get the other side. Yeah, my apologies. I thought you were done. We're definitely going to get the other side to have the conversation maybe some other time so that they also give and posit their position as well. But let's begin to coast a bit as far as election, because for those of us who are journalists and civil society organizations that work with us, we're not interested in who wins and who loses. We're interested in the process, because that's how you build democracy for sustainable society and national growth and development in the broad sense of what it should be. But your party has been touting to the fact that this is a validation of the Tinubu administration. In fact, I heard your governor, if I heard him correctly, I think he was promising the president 2 million votes in one of his comments and one of the rallies. I don't think he was being sincere. In the history of Edo State, we have the records. In fact, Edo State election, about just 10% of the people decide who becomes governor. From about 5 million, we struggle around 500,000 to 600,000 to get a governor. Then the last election, we can go to the records of how the presidential election. So I know we're just making a political statement, which is not true. But moving away from that, is this a precursor to what you think may play out in 2027?
Never say never. Don't say because it was like that in the past, it's going to be like that.
No, I can guarantee you, Boogie. My apologies, but I can guarantee you, Boogie, it's not possible for Edo to give President 2 million votes. It's not.
Calm down, Jeffrey. The last time I checked, you ain't a prophet, Jeffrey. Now, I didn't say that the population of over 5 million. More than half of that population is the voting population. Our governor is a very strategic person. Our governor is a very intelligent person. He doesn't throw words around. With effective mobilization of voters to register in the continuous voters registration, with consistent and effective mobilization of ensuring that registered voters collect their PVCs, it's possible to set a target and hit that target. The reason we have the low turnouts are usually because, like I said, one, non-registration of a lot of the voters, two, non-collection of PVCs, and then maybe not coming out on the election day because of voter apathy. So if the governor has set that target to say, we will deliver this number of votes, there is obviously a strategy to play. And like I said, it just basically boils down to ensuring that people come out to register when the registrations are going on, to also ensure that, they collect their cards, and on election day to mobilize. That's why the party exists. The party has a very vibrant and very strong structure to be able to drive all of those orientations through the populace. So never say never, like I said. This is an insight in all of the governor's campaigns, and that's something a couple of people have talked about, that why does he keep mentioning the president's name when he campaigns? And that's because Edo State has benefited so much from the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, from the Renewed Hope Initiative, in terms of federal and state collaboration on infrastructural projects, in terms of the funding that has been made available to the government. And in those states, even the blind can see that the government is judicially using those extra resources that have been provided. In 2 new flyovers are already earmarked for construction. One will be done by April 2026. Several infrastructural projects are going on. Salaries were increased in May, by a fraction. ₦1 billion has been released to students to obtain bursary. ₦1 billion has been received for small interest loans to market women. ₦1 billion has been released for for payment of backlog of pensions. So much is going on, and because the governor knows that he's achieved a lot of this from support from the presidency, he was able to sell that to the people. And this election is a reflection of the fact that the people bought into that, and that's why they gave PC the support he got.
All right, Boogie, I would like to come back to say I was wrong, but I can guarantee you with my full chest, Edo will not give the president 2 million. With my full chest, I can guarantee you that. Anyway, let's move away. I'm putting myself on record. I would like to come and say I was wrong, but let's move on. Let's talk about one optics that I want you to explain to us how the governor is tackling. That has to do with insecurity. There was a time it was really bad. For a while now, we've not had so much, but the reputation around cultism and its activities in Edo State is a very alarming concern, and even activities of Yahoo boys. What is the strategy exactly to change that narrative as a government? I know the government is young, it's early in the day, but we're approaching 1 year already, so we need to begin to find out what did he meet, what has he done, what is the future as we close?
No, are you there?
Did you get my question?
Yeah, I lost you at about the point you were talking about. What's the governor's strategy for dealing with cultism?
Cultism, yes. I was asking the issue around cultism and the reputation it has in Benin City and all the internet fraud. You know the things I'm mentioning that border on the image and security of the state.
Yes.
What did he meet? What has he done? Where are we going to? In just about 2 minutes as we wind down.
Okay, thank you. The cultism issue was a very major one. It's been a recurring decimal, and one of the governor's major commitments when he came into office was to stop cultism. In fact, in one fora, he actually said that God sent him to stop cultism. And since he came into office, he has employed a multi-pronged approach to ensure that this issue is dealt with. Firstly, he engaged with a lot of all these bodies, and he made them understand that it wasn't going to be business as usual. And he taxed the leadership of the bodies to ensure that they rein in their members, because the truth is some of these bodies actually hide under the cloak of being registered. So he engaged them and told them that he would hold them responsible for whatever infractions their members commit. He took it a step further by going to the House of Assembly to ensure that the laws against anti-cultism and kidnapping were made stiffer, with stronger and stiffer penalties. And one of such penalties was that any facility or any property where violent crime was planned or organized or carried out, that property will be demolished. And I'm sure if you'll be following the news, the governor has gone very hard in that direction, up to the point of even having to bring down the headquarters of one of such organizations. In addition to that, there's been massive reorientation at secondary school level within the youth, putting pressure on everybody to take responsibility, the landlords, the churches, the religious bodies, and all of that. So responsibility should start from home, should start from the churches, to start from even those who give out property. And then recently, as a more active measure, the government set up a task force on anti-cultism. Amongst part of his mandate is to also deal with anti-cultism issue, where they specifically identify those individuals. These people live within us. They don't come from out of town. So the truth is that many of them are known. So this task force is working heavily, and since they started operations, we've seen a drastic reduction in that. And I can guarantee you that under the leadership of Govt Okpebholo, in the next couple of weeks, that will be something we don't hear about. In terms of the Yahoo situation you mentioned, it's not restricted to Edo State. It's a national problem, I believe. And as the governor continues to provide welfare initiatives, provide capacity building initiatives, we'll be able to get most of our youths out of those negative vices to become more productive. So the governor is using a multi-pronged approach, which includes, like I said, the carrot and the stick, engaging and also ensuring that wherever there are suspicions of infractions, that they are dealt with effectively.
All right. Boogie Okiome, thank you so much, as always, for coming on the program. And I'll remind you of today about our agreement or disagreement. But thank you. I wish your government the very best.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much for always having me. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Bogo Kioma is a special advisor to the Edo State Governor on Media and Publicity, the spokesman of the governor. Let's move on to a last story before we leave you on the program. Aggrieved indigenous contractors who allegedly executed project for the federal government and their counterparts from the FCT have staged a protest in Abuja. They are demanding the immediate payment of all completed projects since 2024. Meanwhile, the Minister of Finance says the federal government has paid all outstanding debts for the year 2024. And that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and your usual company. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Bye-bye.